Hello there, my name is Japheth Mast, and welcome to the Make Life Awesome podcast. I'm the Ex-Amish photographer with the funny name and the crazy hair, but trust me, there's a whole lot more to me than just that. In this podcast, I really hope to show you my heart more than what's in my head, because that's where all the really beautiful stuff is. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump in to learning together what it looks like to make life awesome. Yeah, I think they can hear me. Oh, alright. Hi, Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Hi, Japheth. Good to see you. Good to be here in my room recording this.
Yeah, it's nice. What are you drinking there?
I am drinking some New Orleans cold brew. So New Orleans cold brew has chicory in it. And typically you stick half and half and simple syrup in it. I put milk in it instead of half and half because I don't have any half and half. But it's a good little summer drink.
Did you put honey in it?
No honey. Just organic cane sugar and water boiled together to form simple syrup.
Yeah, you've been going crazy on your making of food things, cooking and stuff. Chris has made homemade bread, homemade ice cream, chocolate chip cookies,
Blackberry
cobbler, quite delicious. What are you working on now?
I'm trying to make cheese. It's my my latest invention. I made some earlier this week, some mozzarella cheese. And I messed up somewhere along the process, so I'm figuring it out. It didn't taste as much like mozzarella as it's supposed to. It was a little bit drier, so I think I strained it a little too much. But making cheese, so I'm going to try to make ricotta cheese, eventually try to make cheddar cheese. We'll see what happens, but I'm starting with mozzarella because it's pretty simple, supposed to be easy to make. We'll see if I can do it. I might go Amish and try to make my own butter.
Let's go.
It's on the list. The list of things to do.
That's great.
What do you make? You make box brownies? Is that what you're making lately? Or?
Oh, I make the best brownies out of a box, man. I can make lots of things with eggs in them, chocolate chip cookies. That's about it, for being honest.
Like chocolate chip cookies out of, that's cookie dough pre-made?
No. From scratch, buddy.
Oh, okay.
From scratch. Speaking of cookies, let's talk about dreams. Those are some of my dreams.
Making cookies?
Yep. No, just eating delicious cookies. I was just looking at your bookshelf. Well, you've 3 of them, but it's a billion books on them. And if you don't know this, Chris is an obsessive, incessant reader.
Book hoarder.
Frequently makes kind of sketchy trips to Goodwill where he buys whole boxes of books. Kind of tries to hide his addiction, but he can't.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been such a reader, and where did you fall in love with reading, with growing your mind, with all of that, and why do you do that?
Yeah, I think I've been reading my whole life. I think I started with the Bernstein Bears and Winnie the Pooh, and there were Winnie the Pooh books, right? I can't even remember.
I feel yeah.
Just Arthur? No, Arthur was a TV show. It wasn't a book series. Oh yeah, that's right. You didn't do that. But just started with little kids books, and then eventually worked my way up to the Hardy Boys and the Boxcar Children, and just different young adult books. And we didn't watch TV growing up. We didn't have cable. We didn't have any form of we had a TV, so we'd watch movies as a family. But there, like when it came to what am I going to do right now, I can go play outside, or I can read a book, or I can do something creative. But there was no like, hey, I'm going to go watch TV or something, or I'm going to go play a video game. I didn't grow up playing video games. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with video games. I just never did it. And so I picked up reading, and I read a lot of fiction, like a lot of the classics. Robinson Crusoe is like a massive favorite of mine. A book called Ivanhoe. I forget who it's by right now, but I love that. I'd read like The Tale of Two Cities and just different like books that would stir my imagination, and fictional books, a lot of fictional books. And then in high school, it became more of a chore to read than an enjoyment. My dad forced me to read a book a week, and I had to write a report on it. It ended up being like probably one of the best things that he made me do. And so I would read about George Washington and John Hancock and the Civil War and the Great Depression, and just read all of these different historical things and that would happen, and would write reports on them. And that's when my like passion started to wane a little bit, because it became, instead of it being something I wanted to do, it was something that I was forced to do. And so coming out of high school, I didn't really read anymore, and I was independent. So I watched more TV and I did things like that. Kind of like rebelled is such a strong word, but I like turned away from it would be a good way to put it. Just like, I'm not going to do this. And then after about like a year and a half, I realized like there's something in my soul that wants to read. Like there's something in me that's craving knowledge and craving information and craving an imagination that Netflix can't give me or movies can't give me. But there's something about finishing a book that is satisfying for my soul. So I just started picking up books again and have been reading ever since. And I search for good deals. You can find tons of like classics at Goodwill for really cheap, or different used bookstores. And then like a lot of like Christian living authors or different like books on emotional healing or health or whatever I want to study, whatever topic, I can tend to find them at used bookstores. And I don't have to pay full price for them, which is nice. And I'm able to buy a lot more books, and it just works out more overall for everyone. So, but that's a little bit of like my history with books.
That's cool. I think a lot of the culture today finds it really hard to read, or boring, or they just can't find the motivation, and it's easier to just go binge on Netflix and just go numb out on whatever movies or whatever the vice is there. And I think like talking about where I was kind of wanting to go today was talking about dreams and just thinking bigger, thinking outside the box, thinking with imagination, being able to picture and dream up a future that is the one that you've always wanted. And I think that takes vision and purpose and knowing your why, for sure. And I think those things, vision, when you have vision, you can do hard things because you know where you're going, you know what you want. And I think that vision is so essential for where we want to go, and vision also gives us motivation to do the small things, do the little things. Yeah. The like day-to-day mundane tasks that get us to where we want to go. So do you have any thoughts on that thing of maybe developing a vision, or just finding the motivation or discipline to like do this thing of, let's just pick reading a book, for example, like any practical or ideas, any thoughts you have there?
So I think it's like Dave Ramsey is probably like the first thing I think of when it comes to like building momentum. You have to start out with something small and and build from that. So like I think of Dave Ramsey and his snowball effect for getting rid of debt. And so I think his concept, if I remember it correctly, is you line up your debts, you find out how much you owe on each one, and then you start with the smallest one. Now, if you have like a home mortgage or something, you keep paying that off, right? Like you don't stop with certain debts, but you start with the smallest debt. You get that paid off. That motivates you a little more, and then you pay off the next one. And just before you know, it's the snowball of you have all this energy, this motivation, this discipline, and then before you know it, your debt's paid off. I think it's the same concept with having motivation for dreams, you could say, or just having motivation in life, is recognize where you currently are at. Because if you don't recognize where you currently are at, you'll never get to where you want to go. It's pretty simple. And so for dreams, like with a book, right? Like you set a goal of like, I'm going to read a book. I'm gonna finish this whole book. It could be 100-page book. It could be 1,000-page book. Like whatever it is, just say I'm gonna finish it. And then from there, it gets to this desire of like I want to read another book. And so in life, when you're dreaming, I know for me, I have like really big dreams that I want to see happen in my life, and it can feel overwhelming and daunting to try to accomplish them. Try to to see that, like, to make, like, one of my goals is to be like a multi-millionaire. Well, I don't even make $100,000 a year, like, let alone make multi-million worth of dollars, and to invest and to buy a property one day. And I can't afford to do those things right now, but recognizing where I'm at and going, okay, I can't accomplish those big size goals right now. Like I can't see that completely happen currently in this moment. But what can I do? I can invest $10 in the stock market. I can set aside a certain amount of money. I can build disciplines with money now, so that when I can, and it'll build like the momentum, so that you're starting with what you can currently accomplish, currently do, and then you can build from there. So, and that builds motivation. Like that brings momentum to your dreams. When you do something like that, when you're able to see where you currently are at, see what you're doing, what you're wanting. Like another dream is like, I would love to mentor people and help them reach their goals, and help them if they're believing something about themselves that's wrong or inappropriate or is just a bad belief. I would love to like help people like that step out of those beliefs and into good thinking, into right thinking, into things that are good for them. I would love to do that, like where people are coming to me going, "Hey, Chris, I want you to help me in my life," like as a counselor, kind of like what a counselor would do. Yeah. But I don't have that sort of credential or capacity. But my friends, I can connect with my friends. I can challenge them. I can allow them to challenge me. I can start. I have to see where I currently am at, and then from there, I make a game plan of like, what am I actually going to do next? Like, what am I going to do to make that happen? So that's what I would say. Like for when you're setting goals. And when you have goals, when you have vision, and I heard a quote by one of my mentors of like, vision gives pain purpose. And so like when you have a vision and a goal, no matter what the cost is that you have to pay, if you know your vision, that pain isn't actually going to hurt as bad as it could have hurt, because you realize that it's only for a short period of time. And I'm not really talking about physical pain, but like the pain of like, if you're wanting to save up for to buy a car, it may be painful to not buy coffee every day or something, and you may have to give that up, or you may have to give up, if you drink alcohol, give up drinking alcohol. You're like, okay, this isn't a necessity, this isn't a need, this is something I have to do, and like giving it up and going, okay, I know that this hurts right now that I'm doing this, but eventually it's going to create an outcome that I'm desiring, and I'm okay with that. And so it almost like lessens the pain a little bit. It doesn't invalidate it, but it gives it a reason for why it exists. So, yeah. What do you think?
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah. I love that what you're saying about like you have the big vision, have the big dream, but then make it practical, make it small. Just start somewhere. You know, I've heard people say that, you know, in a year from now, you're gonna wish you had started today, and that's kind of always something I'm thinking about. Like, what can I do today to get me to where I want to go? And maybe in a little bit you can share a little bit of your process of your dreams. But I know for me, like, one of my dreams is to be in the film industry in Hollywood, like, I'm not sure, director, producer, something like that. And I also want to be a public speaker, speaking to the highest classes of people and influencing people. So like 4 years ago, I started a blog where I wrote every week. That was like one small thing that I did to help me get, you know, going on that road to becoming a public speaker. And then this podcast is another example of that. And like with going into movie making, I'm doing some schooling this year where I'll be in an environment where there's a lot of creativity and a lot of people kind of in the world, in the area that I want to be in. Mm-hmm. So surrounding myself with those people, and then just doing little projects where I can to grow my craft and to get better at that. You know, making it practical and doing something today that I'm going to be thankful for doing in 1 year, 5 years, even 20 years.
Yeah.
It's going to pay off but I think it's only, I don't know, sometimes most times I don't actually have a concrete vision. And it's just kind of walking in faith, doing things today that I'm not sure how they'll affect my life in a decade or in 30 years. But when I do have that vision, I know it enables me to do things now that you know, when you look at it, you might say, oh, there's no reason why you should be doing that. You're just wasting your time. Because it's not directly helping you today, but in 20 years or whatever, it will be huge. And I had to go through a process of kind of allowing myself to think bigger, and I'm definitely still in that process. It's kind of painful letting go of old ways of thinking, old systems of just completely limited and poverty thinking, where all you think about is like today, or avoiding pain for today, just making it through today, and then kind of having that all ripped out and giving yourself permission to think like a billion times bigger, to think massive, changing the world, huge.
You're gonna change the world.
It's gonna be huge.
Okay. Yeah, you're making an investment. It sounds like you're saying that you're making an investment in your dreams now, even though you're not going to see the payoff for a while, maybe for a long time, of like I'm going to invest in my future now. I'm going to invest, like, what I'm doing now may seem minuscule, small, tiny, irrelevant, not important, or not as important, or maybe not even like fully what I, so to speak, should be doing. But you realize, you're like, no, actually, this is actually an investment. I'm going to invest in myself, and I know that it's a long-term investment. I'm going to get the payoff. I'm going to get the reward. I'm going to get the outcome of it, maybe 20 years from now. But I'm gonna choose now to do this so that it helps me. Like, I know for me, a lot of right now, how I invest in myself is I'm investing in in me as a person, me as an individual. Like, I want to be someone that loves people really well. I want to be someone that that has good character, that's integrous, that's honest. Let me clarify. I don't want to. I know that I am, but I'm doing things that are investing in those characteristics. I'm making conscious decisions. I want to be excellent in my craft. I want to be excellent in who I am as an individual. I want to be a clean-cut person. I want to know how to take care of my body and how to bring life and joy and health to it, so that it's not it's not breaking down when I'm wanting to pursue the dreams that I want to. And it may be like, well, what does emotional health have to do with making millions of dollars? It's like, well, actually, it doesn't have a lot to do. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires that are the biggest jerks you'll ever meet in your life. But I don't want that in my life. Like, I want to be able to handle the wealth that I'm given, so that I can be a generous person, so that I can be an influential person that people are like, I want to be around this guy. I see how he's living his life. And it sounds like what you're saying is something similar of like, I want to invest in who I am, and I want to invest in the things I love now. And even though it's like, I know you personally, like, you do photography, and there are times when you would do things in photography that you wouldn't get paid for, and you may not have made money on that, but it was an investment because you grew your craft, because you made connections, because you practiced, you got yourself out there, you took a risk, you learned how to do it well on yourself. And it's like, okay, I may not be seeing the type of investment I want to see currently, but I know that it's leading to something bigger, which is really cool. Like, that's awesome. That's a really good trait to have. So, yeah. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I meant to say. That's great. And I know that you've recently been made a couple small investments, like in stocks and and such. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I have a mentor who, I think a common theme you'll hear me say is I have a mentor. I think a lot of how I learn is not even, I learn a lot from books, but I know Japheth does the same thing of like, I want to surround myself with quality people that are doing what I want to be doing, you know? Damn. And for dreaming, like, that's really important. Surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you want to do, or accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish in your life. And so that's something that I've been working on, is surrounding myself with people that can do that. And so I want to invest more, both in like businesses one day, and I want to like have investments in the stock market, and I want to have investments in real estate and all these different sources of income. And I had a mentor who I was talking to, and he was sharing with me how there are successful people he knows, and even he does it on a certain level of where you invest 10% of your income into high-risk stocks with no guarantee that you're going to make any return on it. You obviously make wise decisions in how you're investing, but the basis of a high-risk stock is there is a high risk that you won't make any money on it. Now, there's also a high risk that you will make money on it. And so for me, I took up that philosophy, and I had like a couple financial things I needed to get in order before I could do that. And so it took me a little bit of time, but recently I just started doing that. Every paycheck, I was like, I'm just going to take 10%, roughly 10%. Sometimes I take more, sometimes I take less, but I'm going to take about 10%. And I'm just going to invest it in stocks that are currently down. I'm going to do a little research. I'm not going to invest in a stock that's like, well, actually that company's going bankrupt. That's why their stock is low. But just trying to make logical decisions with it. And so I just started doing that. I just started investing, and I hope I get a return. I'm pretty sure I'll get a return on it. And my portfolio at this point has been able to, I've done it enough and invested in enough stocks to where it's not all in, I don't have all my pennies in one area. It's spread out, which is nice. But that's something that I started doing. It was just something that a mentor taught me. It was like, hey, do that. Go for it. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So.
That's rad. I think there's very, very few people, especially young people, who would actually follow through on that advice of investing some of your money into stocks.
Yeah.
Or, getting a return on your money, because it's like, for me, that's something I haven't been very good at.
So why would, like, what do you, like, this fits with what you're saying, but I'm curious of, like, why do you think young people don't, and I'm not just talking about money, but why do you think they don't invest in their future? Like, what are the things holding them back? Or like, what's happening there? Like, why do people not go after their dreams, would you say?
That's a good question. I think I don't have all fully formulated thoughts. But mostly, I think it just comes from not believing in themselves, not believing that they have what it takes, and because of that, they don't really have a long-term vision for their lives. They don't see a point. They don't really see a future for themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's just, they kind of go for whatever feels great in the moment. Whatever brings the most pleasure. Go out and party every weekend. Blow your paycheck the first day that you get paid, and just kind of live in that lifestyle. And it's definitely not working for anyone that I've met.
Yeah. They're not successful.
Nope.
Except for that one Instagram star and a couple of YouTube people.
Yeah, whatever.
Those people are dumb. Not dumb, but they're...
We love them.
But they're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it comes down to just low self-worth, low self-esteem, not knowing who we are, that leads us to just kind of try to find happiness and worth in meaningless things that only last for a day or an hour, or whatever. So
totally
totes cool. Well, it's getting about time to wrap up. Let me see. Do you have any story you could share? Either something that you've gone through, or something someone you know has gone through, where it made you think bigger, or made you just want more for your life, or you had a light bulb moment where all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I have this vision for my life. I need to get my stuff together because I have a purpose and I am going to change the world. Woo!
Yeah.
And if you don't, I'm going to delete this.
Yeah. I'm going to edit this out. I have a couple thoughts of, John Eldridge has a quote where he says, he says something along the lines of, don't become what the world needs, but do what makes your heart come alive, because the world doesn't need more people doing what the world needs. It needs more people that are fully alive.
Yeah.
And so I would like the story I have, I guess, and that's one thought. That's one separate thought, is do what makes you come alive. Do what fully makes you come fully alive. My second one is, it's a story, kind of. I just recently read this book called The Alchemist, And
Great book.
The Alchemist is if you haven't read, one of the top selling books of all time. I think it sold over 150 million copies. Incredible book. But the premise of the book is there's this boy who's a shepherd, and it's set, I don't even know, I want to say hundreds of years ago. And it's this boy who's a shepherd, and he has a literal dream where he goes to sleep and he sees all of this treasure in this place. And he's like, and his heart is stirred by this dream that he had. And he goes into town and he meets this gypsy, and this gypsy tells him about like what the dream means, and he needs to go to Egypt and he needs to do this stuff. And then he meets Methuselah, who's this wise man, and Methuselah gives him this advice that says, all of the universe, when you pursue your dream, all of the universe conspires to help that dream come true. And so then the rest of the book is basically this shepherd boy who he goes to Egypt and he encounters these pitfalls and these surprises and these trials and these things that seemingly take him off course and actually you could say set him back and make him disillusioned and disappointed. And he keeps remembering that phrase of, when you pursue your dream, all of the universe conspires to help that come true. And so he just keeps going after it, and then eventually he makes it to Egypt and he finds the treasure, and it changed. The story that I have is I really in that book of just like how in the midst of everything that happened, he didn't give up. And I think, and it's so applicable to our lives as young people, as we're pursuing our dreams, of going, like our mindset ultimately, I would say, is over half the battle. Like if we have our mindset in the right place, it just would change. It'll change everything. It'll change the directory. And I think, I forget the boy's name, but that boy, it's a perfect parallel. If he just kept pursuing, and doors just started opening for him, and moments happened that were seemingly not supposed to help him. And I mean, I had the same thing when I started my first company. When I started my first company, it wasn't on my radar to start a company. I just had a skill, and I knew how to do irrigation work and landscaping work. And I just started having people that just said, hey, can you come fix a sprinkler? Can you come install this landscaping thing? And before you know it, it grew into a whole company because I just said yes. It wasn't even, I had a dream of, I want to make money. I want to be successful. I didn't know how to make that dream come true. And the skill that I had opened the door for me to pursue what I ultimately wanted to pursue, which was to be in business and invest. And there's other dreams that I have as well. But that I just said yes. And in that moment, it's like the whole universe, so to speak, like the book, conspired to come in and help and encourage me along the way. No matter what surprises I faced, it led me to where I am today, which I really like where I am today. So
it's good to like where you are. Okay, kids, follow your dreams. That's all.
Follow them all.
That's good. I love that quote in that book by John Eldridge. The world doesn't need whatever. The world needs people who have come fully alive. Yeah, there's definitely something that happens when you pursue that thing in your heart. And it's usually, in my experience, it's something has fear attached to it. When you think about doing that thing, it's like, so many fears come up. But that's a good sign point, I think, to go after it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
We will we'll talk to you another time.
Thanks for having me on, Japheth.
You're welcome. Wave goodbye.
Bye. Bye, people.
Can you see us waving?
Bye, fans of Japheth.
I don't think they can.
He's
see
still
it.
Single.
Yes.
Ask him out. Or make yourself available to him so he can ask you out.
Okay. Do you have any cookies?
No, not yet.
Thanks for listening to the podcast today. I would love if you would leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting platform, as it really does help the show out. You can find me on Instagram at Japheth Mast, that's spelled JAPHETHMAST, or my website, japhethmast.com. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, make life awesome.